Hey everybody, how you doing? This is James Murphy. I'm coming to you today from my office, and I'm so excited because right here in front of me is the theme for today is how life imitates chess. And right here in front of me is my dad's very first chess set he bought with the money that from his very first job working at a drugstore. And he gifted it to me, and we have played many good lessons or many good games of chess together over the years, my dad and I. With this chess set, so it's very near and dear to me. I want to throw in another concept today, which is why I love books and reading. So the book I have in front of me today is by Garry Kasparov, and it's aptly titled How Life Imitates Chess. And so what I'm going to do as part of this is going to be a little bit of just reading today because I really want to do him justice with this book. But I have a twofold aspect today, which is the first one is why it's so important to continue to read and educate yourself, because there's so many valuable lessons in psychology with people, right? When we talk about modeling behavior, modeling success, there are the steps that you need to follow and find out about and make sure that the steps are all in the right sequence and what are critical steps versus non-critical steps. The part that many times people overlook, though, is the last part of that equation is you have to understand, what are they thinking? What's their psychology? How are they processing what's going on? In chess, next to Go is one of the most complicated games to learn and play and master because there's so many different combinations of how the game can play out. And I'm not very good at it, and but it totally fascinates me, and I kind of can't get away from it. But the other thing is that I love about it is it's tactile, right? It's one of those games where you can still just really get in, move your pieces around, right? You've got these cool little rooks. I used to play with this all the time when I was a kid. I love the horses and the bishops and the knights and the pawns, and it's just a fun, right? Literally little knights and pawns, right? So with the horses and all, I just love it. But anyway, the love of the game, the love of life, all comes from learning, understanding other people's success, but then you gotta move the pieces. You gotta play. You gotta learn what works, what doesn't work. You're gonna fail half the time. But here are some tips and why I love life and games and learning and books, because you can find beautiful things. So one of the first things, just for 2 seconds here, Garry Kasparov in 1985, and I think it was 22. Was the youngest world championship chess player. He was in the chess scene for many years. And then he's from Russia, and then and then he transitioned into political life in Russia. So that's kind of his thing here. But How Life Imitates Chess really started to capture. He said, instead of people talking to me about who I was when I won, they wanted to know what I thought and how I did it. So here are some really great just quotes to think about, and put this in the context, if you can, just evaluate this from the context of you setting some goals for next year, right? So if you want to know someone who gets world-class results in a very difficult game, just like life is a very difficult game, here are some of the basic thoughts and stuff that I love. So I don't know if you can see my book, but it's like all tabbed out. I write in my books, I tab stuff out everywhere. But I'm gonna read a couple things here. So the first thing, when you're thinking about your goals for next year, remember that he says courage is the first of human qualities because it guarantees all others, right? To achieve success, our strategy must be implemented with accurate tactics. So when you're looking at a goal, saying, what's an area of life that I really want to improve in, that I'm willing to be courageous at? What's an area that I'm willing to be courageous and step up, right? Move into fear with. And that's important because when we get into playing the game, right, it says that a player in a difficult position tends to make mistakes due to the psychological pressure that comes with knowing he or she is in trouble. So think about that. When you set your goal, when you start to hit some trouble, it's known that you're going to have a tendency to want to quit. You're going to have a tendency to make a move that doesn't work based on that. So without stability, a risky venture could lead to the total collapse of a company, he said. So a bold move from a position of weakness is always severely punished. So when you're thinking about your goal and where you're going to have to move into this sphere and have the courage to achieve, what's an area where it's okay if I fail? It's okay, and how can I set myself up so it's okay to fail? So when we move forward with that thought and that concept does, it says, whatever you can do or think you can do, begin it, for boldness has a magic and a power and a genius in it. That's a quote from Goethe. But he says here, greater knowledge. So if you overthink things, greater knowledge carries the burden of additional things to consider, and that opens the door for doubt to creep in, and overthinking numbs our instincts, right? And turns what should be a quick decision into a mental committee meeting. So when you're thinking about putting this all together, right, we need to be courageous to move into a place where we know we're going to fail, but if we fail, how do we also move into achieving the goals so we're not overthinking it too much, right? And boy, this is kind of getting all complicated, right? But it says the key to this is going back to a place where you know that engaging in those weakest points of your game and drilling down to what you really understand from them is the quickest and fastest way to improve. So what's the area of your life that you want to be courageous in, you want to take strategic steps in, but they need to be small steps because you know you're going to fail, so you won't quit, you'll keep doing it, right? But you're also at the same time just attacking those little weaknesses in your game and drilling down to those and doing those consistently, because that's the best way to improve with your game of life there, with what you're doing. And I think I have one last quick tabbed thought on that, which is, yes, he says that's important because when we gain experience in one small area, when we just gain that little bit, it improves our overall abilities in unexpected, often inexplicable ways. So when you think about some of the goals and some of the things in life that you want to move towards for this next year, right? I know it's still early, but I'm starting my goals here in September, and we want to do that. When you're setting yourself up for success, remember in the bigger game of life, you still move one piece at a time. And it's about how do we have the courage, yes, to see the overall picture of what's going on, which is we want to win the game, we have that outcome. From there, though, it's about how do we think ahead a little bit, but then stay totally flexible in terms of moving one piece at a time. So in attacking that, moving into it, you want to attack, because the complacency is where you start to fall apart, because you're going to feel the pressure coming in from other people, the attack of life, right? So we want to make sure we're aggressive in terms of taking these small steps every day, moving a piece, because that's how a game is played, just a piece at a time. Evaluate, move, evaluate, move, evaluate, move. And that's how life imitates chess. So I hope that gave you some food for thought in terms of some bigger pictures and like what are some of the areas of life I'm willing to play chess in next year, where I know I'm going to move into adversity, I'm going to fail, it's going to take courage, but I'm going to keep doing it even though I'm going to have the desire to quit, right? Because the brain's going to take me out, but I'm just going to keep evaluating, stopping, playing move by move, step by step, and in the game, whether I win or lose, it's about how I played the game, right? That's important. So surround yourself with people who are stronger than you as well, so you can play a game, because you don't learn anything if you don't play someone better than you. So take care, keep running your race. Thanks for this one. I know it's a little bit longer. If you get a chance, I would highly encourage you to read this book. It sucked me in. It was really, really great. And pull out something tangible that you can do. Life's a game. Keep playing your game. Keep running your race, and we'll talk to you soon.